Xbox Game Pass. We're doing a review of the service as of 2026, what was formerly the best deal in gaming. Be sure to like the video. Subscribing is great as well. So, Game Pass changed a lot and is changing and is constantly changing. I typically do this video review a little bit earlier in the year, a couple months earlier than I'm doing it now, but since it's so in flux recently, I was kind of like, okay, when do I do this? And then they just announced that Game Pass to a degree is included in Discord, but that's a different thing. I thought that would be a new tier of this, but it kind of isn't because it's outside and adjacent of everything. Okay, and this is going to change again because apparently they're fluctuating things and adjusting pricing and doing possibly an a la carte system down the road. But for now, this is the current state of Xbox Game Pass as of 2026. All right, so let's dive in. So the description, you get a bunch of games, you get a bunch of stuff. We're going to be going over everything so that you kind of have an idea of what the service provides. But it comes down to a few different setups. So the whole point of Game Pass is that it gives you a bunch of games, and it regularly adds games and rotates games out, and gives you access to everything you need on Xbox, at least from the Ultimate perspective, as far as like your streaming elements, your multiplayer access, which used to be Xbox Live, your variety of top tier games, your day one games, your EA Play, your Fortnite Pass thing, your Ubisoft Classics, perks, various in-game sort of benefits, outside of gaming benefits, and then everything Xbox as far as online services kind of revolve around Game Pass. And you see that at the day one, the library games, the EA Play Fortnite crew, the Play Anywhere program, which isn't really necessarily a Game Pass thing, but they've kind of started advertising that more, and then various benefits and rewards, like I mentioned. So this should be in the US currency setup here. I did switch to the US market in order to showcase this. We've got Game Pass Ultimate, which was higher. So you're paying more for Game Pass Ultimate now than you were the last time I did this video, and then they jumped it 50%, and then they cut it a bit, and now this is the new price of it. So it's $23 a month, and it's sort of your Ultimate Pass. You get everything. And then there's Game Pass Essential, which is sort of a cut down version. And then there is Game Pass Premium, which is slightly better but still cut down. So basically, it would go from Ultimate to Premium and then Essential. And I believe, and I did actually check this out last time, there was Core, which has been replaced. So it's kind of gone for the PS Plus naming conventions of, well, we've got Ultimate, Premium, and Essential here. So Essential is just sort of for your, base level. Basically what Xbox Live Gold used to be back in the day. And yeah, frequently asked questions, little bits of info, everything like that. We're going to be diving in. We're going to be talking about all the different elements here because there's quite a lot to talk about. Okay, so let's start. I also want to mention that there is Game Pass for PC, which actually I think might be the best value. They don't show it on the console from this is like kind of a console review perspective, but there is Game Pass for PC only, and that specifically is actually a pretty great deal. So let's dive in. Let's talk about Game Pass Essential. So this is a curated selection of 50 console and PC games. Stream and play anywhere, little tiny details and asterisks on what is actually available for you to enjoy. You get minor rewards. There's also like the Microsoft Rewards program, which is Xbox Rewards in here, but it's all Microsoft Rewards. And then depending on the tier you get different benefits and everything like that. So cool. So these are the games. You get a selection of titles from like single player stuff to multiplayer games. It's just kind of like a little bit of a, I can't believe they double up on the same thing. Ridiculous. It's kind of like a little bit of a slice of life of Game Pass. You get a couple old 360 games. You get some indie titles. Yeah, it's kind of just a bunch of small sort of stuff to kind of be like, see what you could get with this service. They're not bad games, but there's not really, kind of like big new titles or anything like that. It's just kind of a little bit of like old junk kind of thrown together in here. That stuff that's been on Game Pass forever. And I guess Albion's kind of the newest thing, but that's been around forever. So it's just kind of, yeah, basic level, just to try to. It's basically a tier where they're attempting to kind of get you to, move to a higher tier. But yeah, you get 50 plus games, play anywhere, and you get some benefits and rewards, which is kind of neat. Yeah, this was formerly Game Pass Core. It has added some more titles to it, which are kind of nice, but like, yeah, basically that's what you get. Unlimited cloud gaming. Oh, do you? Right. So that's essential, which was core, and that's your base price. I remember when it was like $5 a month for Xbox Live Gold. It was not bad back then. Although the question is, should we be paying for online at all? Hard to say. Now we're on to Game Pass Premium. So this is the $14.99 tier, so you get over 200 console PC games on this sort of service tier. So it's kind of like a second step up. This is the tier they probably want you to be on, if that makes sense, because it's a lot cheaper for them to run. You miss out on getting those games right away. They save money, and it doesn't cannibalize their sales as much. And this one, it kind of steps things up. You get some more family games in there. You get a little slice of Call of Duty. You get, just like a different variety of kind of like junk stuff thrown in there, and some bigger stuff like Cyberpunk and so forth, and some of the Diablo games. And it's basically like it's older stuff, and then whatever they feel like shuffling into you months after or a year after, depending on how generous they're feeling about throwing in the big stuff. Like the funniest thing is just the changes of how Game Pass has been advertised since it first came out are quite different, for sure. But there's lots of good stuff in this, honestly. Like this tier's got some nice quality games. It's more like you're paying for online and you also want access to some better titles with that service in order to enjoy, a little bit more of value on this sort of one. But I guess like it's really hard because it's like, yes, they're trying to get different values for different people, but I feel like if you're at the point where you're just sort of doing this kind of a tier, you might as well just go, like, if you don't care about the extra games you're getting, you might as well just have the cheaper pass. But if you do want all the games, you might as well go for the higher pass. It's an awkward tier because there's not really something specifically about this one that kind of stands out as being like, oh, this is why you would pick this tier, other than like it's cheaper and it gives you some of the games. But like, yeah, we're gonna go down features. So you get over 200 titles, not some bad stuff, some pretty decent things. Again, the advertised play anywhere thing, and then benefits and rewards. And then of course we have Game Pass Ultimate, which used to be the best deal in gaming, and it gets worse every single year, as do most subscriptions. I mean, obviously they did cut down the price to where it was still higher than when I last did this review, but and we lose Call of Duty now. So the whole advertised point of Game Pass when it was first introduced was with Game Pass Ultimate, you play all first-party games day one. And that was the promise, that was the advertisement, that was the focus. You get all the big games through your subscription day one. So they've removed Call of Duty, so obviously that's broken now. You can go over it however you want. They own Call of Duty, they own Activision. Those are first-party games. They've removed that from the service. I would assume, for now, it's just Call of Duty. But it's also just 4 games going to other platforms. So I don't know how much you would trust Microsoft. I don't. But yeah, so I would assume down the road they'll probably remove other day one games. But for now, it's just Call of Duty going forward, which again kind of devalues the whole point of the subscription. But hey, you save a few bucks or something like that. Catalog of over under 300 titles or whatever. So this is like the best of the best. So this is like you get all the games through this service. You get those day one Game Pass titles. You get a bunch of. There's supposed to be more day one titles, but we're gonna have to see after a full year of the more day one games kind of happening to see what we get. So far, it's kind of been mostly like indie day one titles. Not really anything too large, but your Call of Duty games. You get your other various old school titles, 360, original Xbox stuff. You get the EA Play, which is actually a pretty good catalog. I used to subscribe to EA Play before it was folded into Game Pass. And then you also get, I'm kind of hoping it pops up soon. I guess maybe we passed a couple of them under the A section, but there's I was gonna say like there's the Ubisoft classics. But we'll get to some of the smaller, smarter stuff a little bit later on. Smarter stuff. I don't know, some of the other stuff. You get your sports games, you get your Fallouts. It's there we go. So you've got the Ubisoft Plus classics. So you get like the older Ubisoft games, long after the fact. I mean, most of them go on sale pretty cheap, anyways. But that's something, right? That's kind of the mix of games here. The Gears franchise. It's actually a pretty great variety of titles. Everything from big games like Hogwarts Legacy to like Indiana Jones, which is first party. Good variety of stuff, right? Like all the big titles, lots of stuff's on the service. I don't know. It's kind of like you're sort of like, oh, okay, and then they brand a lot of free to play games as like Game Pass stuff, which is kind of funny too. But you get perks and benefits or whatever, so there you go. But it is actually a pretty large curated selection of games available. Everything from the original Xbox to today and going forward, and good selections of franchises. You also get the retro classics, and this is across the three different tiers of Game Pass. I don't know if you've noticed them in the other ones, but you get a bunch of really ancient games that are streamed through basically what is a I'm trying to think what the service is called, but it's baked into this, so it doesn't really matter. But they use the Antstream technology to deliver this, and it's really cool. And they add a lot of stuff to it. So that's just something that's an extra. Same with GoldenEye. 007 GoldenEye is just kind of like a baked in sort of thing to the service. I think those are the only two things that are like only available through Game Pass as far as like options. Everything else you can buy outside of it. Which is quite interesting. But yeah, as you could tell, there's just a ton of games, and all the big ones, The Witcher and everything, and a wide variety of experiences. It's like what isn't on Game Pass, and lots of stuff apparently, the Wolfensteins and everything. So like another element too, if I own this one, Game Pass is supposed to give you like kind of a benefit, like you get your sales and everything through this, but like Game Pass used to give you a good cut. Like it used to be like 10% for like add-ons and stuff, and yeah, that's gone. Yeah, because you used to get a deal. You buy a game, you get a deal on buying like DLC for titles, but yeah, they've kind of a lot of the benefits and the perks of the Game Pass experiences have been removed. But I believe EA stuff, so EA Play still gives you the 10%. But yeah, you used to get that with through Game Pass as well. So EA offers that, but Xbox, yeah, they've removed. I'm trying to find another game that's a good example of it. So you could be like, oh, okay, maybe the Division 2's got some DLC that it sells. Let's take a look here. But yeah, you used to save money on your add-ons, but Xbox got rid of that perk, which is a bit of a shame. So those are the games, and new games day one: Forza Horizon 6, High on Life 2, but now it excludes Call of Duty titles going forward. You did go Black Ops 7 though, so that was exciting. 500 plus games, big stuff, small stuff. You get a combination of EA Play, Fortnite Crew, and Ubisoft Plus Classics. They should actually edit this because it's no longer 1,000 V-Bucks each month. They docked it down to, I believe, 800. So yeah, you get the sports games after several months. You get the 10-hour trial through EA Play for new sports styles, new EA titles, and then Ubisoft Classics, whatever old stuff that's been sitting there for years, you get that. And then Fortnite Crew, you get a bunch of random skins and a bunch of new, kind of like V-Buck, kind of just things to buy skins with, but they've devalued that and increased the cost of things. Play Anywhere, streaming stuff, you get the cloud gaming, so you can stream cloud stuff and everything like that, and then your benefits and rewards. Which is kind of cool. So we're going to show off just a little bit of the rewards and stuff, but we're going to have to go back to the home screen in order to do that. So you go to the Game Pass tier, and then you get a selection of information and things like that. Recently added, all A to Z, coming to Game Pass, leaving, then there's your perks and benefits. So you get some in-game stuff. It's really annoying. They changed this. They used to just give codes. Now some of these things you actually have to go in the game to get them. So you have to keep things installed, and And then there's the rewards you're earning, and then there's the things you've grabbed, and then there's, like I said, your Fortnite crew. But again, it's changed to 800 V-Bucks now, so they need to update that. Ubisoft Classic, 50 old Ubisoft titles. EA Play, all the great EA Play stuff. Great bang for your buck on that one. Deals and discounts, which has just been rolled into Game Pass. And then, yeah, just a bunch of ways to kind of find different, like, types of games, fighting, different areas. I think that covers most of the stuff. Yeah, the rewards, the deals, the in-game benefits, Ubisoft, that's Ultimate, Fortnite Crew, cloud gaming, so you can stream games instead of playing, downloading them. But I've got fast internet, so now I don't need that anymore. And then, free days where you get to check out a couple games. Yeah, play with friends. You get your online multiplayer, but so the word is going that they're going to eventually drop the pricing for playing with other people, which would make sense, and exclusive deals. Cool, so that's kind of the different tiers of Game Pass that exist at the current point in time. I guess we could kind of come in and do like a bit of a, I guess you would call it a full wrap-up review on this one. It's a little longer of a review video this year just because there's more stuff to talk about. But yeah, Game Pass Ultimate, Xbox Game Pass used to be the best deal in gaming. I do think there's still a great category and selection of games that's available on the service, and they do steadily add games. But I have noticed, again, price going up, and while now dropping Call of Duty, it's going to be the start of removing first-party titles. The day one on Game Pass, big advertisement going away, I think is kind of just showcases how much this sort of subscription is faltering and failing over time. We're going to probably be losing some stuff, and they add games, but they kind of it's funny, their listing will be like, oh, it's Ultimate or this Ultimate, but there's not really too many big titles, and a lot of the stuff's kind of spread out between the different tiers. And yeah, it's a great subscription in terms of if you want to play something new, if you want to check out something different. Game Pass offers a lot of stuff. You get a lot of different tiers. Ultimate, there is some value there, but it's really pushing it unless you are very enthusiastic about gaming. That's the problem. Something like Netflix you watch in the backdrop, something like Game Pass, you need to be playing these games to get the value out of it. And you got to do the kind of the math on, having you buy one of these things versus, you just literally playing it through the subscription because you don't keep it. And you got to find the value that's kind of right for you and your individual needs, right? I think Game Pass for PC, though, that's some really good value personally. I think that's got a lot going on for it. But yeah, I do kind of sit there and I do question the quality of this subscription service at this point in time. It's not the best deal in gaming anymore, but it's one that does offer something that is complementary to your Xbox gaming ecosystem. And I guess we'll see how this continues to evolve, and I'll probably be back doing this again in another year, taking a look at how much things have changed. It's just, yeah, the enthusiasm towards the service is basically entirely gone at this point, but it offers some stuff to enjoy.